We have just had Sri Gandhi accept the fact that he will take some questions, and I was hoping that you would agree. We promise they won't be too difficult, or I hope they won't be too difficult. You don't mind if they're difficult. So just what I was hoping you would agree, and we have in fact our past presidents who will get the good fortune of drawing on that lot. So I'm going to actually be very democratic and go exactly in the order in which our presidentships have passed. So if I might ask the immediate past president, Raju Kanoria, who is right here. You got a mic?
Yeah, I have a mic.
Wherever you're more comfortable. Yeah, okay, yeah. So Raju, you have the first question. Yeah.
So since I have the first question, I also have the first comment, and I must commend you, Mr. Gandhi, on an absolutely indisputable ideology that you have laid down for the country. And we are really delighted that you have included business and industry as very much part of your ideology, and that the positive messages that you're sending through today by being here with us, I do hope that you meet with success in the ideology that you have iterated.
Thank you.
Sir, you talked about many aspects, and you put up a comprehensive economic and social agenda. You talked about flexibility in labor laws, you talked about power sector, you talked about industrial corridors, talked about inflation, and much about most of the issues that we in our body in FICCI love to cover. And it was music to our ears that you concurred with the idea that manufacturing should grow and become 25% of the GDP. What we do feel, however, sir, is that in some cases there seems to be a cross-purpose or a cross-mismatch between the ideologies which you have talked about and the laws which are being enacted. And one of them is to do with the land acquisition bill. And so I don't know how much in detail you know about it, but I had the chance of chairing a task force on the land acquisition bill. And last year, when the Prime Minister was here, I actually said that this bill is going to result in a lot of problem for industry. The bill says that it takes 50 months for any land to be acquired for industry. And I think that by that time, most projects would actually just disappear rather than come about. So, sir, my question to you is really that what do you feel about this incongruence between the ideology for manufacturing and the creation of 100 million jobs that you're talking about, if it is going to be impeded by the land acquisition bill? Yeah. And how do you feel that this bill is going to help in the process of industrialization?
Well, first of all, the government has not abdicated its responsibility. So there are large spaces, infrastructure spaces, where acquisition is still possible. The real issue is that there is a cost to not having a land acquisition law. And I'll point out two examples of this. See, India has become extremely politically competitive. And people will mobilize around these issues. Take the Tata example in West Bengal. The absence of a law is what allowed the political mobilization that cost Tata. The fact that you're going to have to resolve this issue is a fact. We have a Maoist corridor, and the central issue over there, frankly, is land. It is the acquisition of land. So you're already bearing a cost of acquisition. And with increased transparency, with the RTI, you will find that this law will protect you. It will protect you from hidden costs by creating a transparent outcome. And people who've actually read the bill in detail, and some people who are also in the real estate business, after reading the bill in detail, have actually told me that, listen, this is actually not as bad a bill as it is made out to be. In fact, it is quite a well thought out bill. So that's my response. The politics of this country is changing, and the levels of transparency are increasing. So we need to provide you a framework of which to work.
If I could now ask. No, I'm sorry, please, we are going in a very disciplined way here. Everyone would like to ask a question, but we are going to use our time for our past presidents. And if I might now ask Harsh Mariwala, head of Marico, to ask a question.
Yeah, my question to you, Rahul, is environment is very, very important. We all understand the importance of environment, and we need to protect environment. But at the same time, environment is also used as a source of blocking competition or for rent seeking. And I liked your words on corruption and growth and all that, but in that context, how do we ensure that the industry doesn't suffer because of environmental issues?
Well, rent seeking and blocking competition using the environment is absolutely wrong, and one must stop it. In terms of protecting the environment, one cannot allow wholesale plunder of the environment. So there is a balance between what is needed to be done with regards to the environment and what is needed to be done with regards to our natural resources. And it is possible to carve out a clear line. There is also the idea of environmental damage that is not recoverable. And there is a difference between environmental damage that is recoverable and environmental damage that is not recoverable. So for example, if you damage the Himalayas, you destroy the Himalayas, that is not recoverable. But there are other aspects of the environment. You can go in, you can sustainably do things, and you can actually recover the damage. So I think in areas which are absolutely critical with regards to environmental damage, we need to be careful. But we can chart out a path that helps our industry actually grow. Look, we need raw materials to grow, so we have to get at them. But we cannot do it by destroying our environment. We have to do it by being careful about our environment. So there's a middle path. I do feel that one can be more aggressive than we are currently being. That's my view.
That was a tough question, I must say, but I think you've answered that very well. I think we too in industry believe that where environment degradation can have rules, where you can actually repair the damage, there is reason to allow us to go ahead.
Can I just make one last point? Yeah. The real issue, frankly, in all these things, whether it's environment, whether it's land acquisition, it's arbitrary power. So if you create a rules framework and you take away arbitrary power, a lot of these problems will be mitigated. That's basically the issue. And we talk, the biggest problem in this country is absolute arbitrary power. And we do not provide rules and structures to manage people's expectations, to manage the environment. The environment minister or the chief minister of a state can take any decision he wants on anything. And that's, if we want to build a modern country, that's what we have to change. We have to start building rules and structures. Now, one can argue about whether those rules and structures are the precise rules and structures that one wants. That's a question of legislation. But the problem you actually face is complete arbitrary power at all levels of the system. That's the problem you're faced with. Sorry.
And you're so right, because we've gone from what were a go-go sort of period where anything went to a no-go period as a repercussion where nothing was permitted. And really what we are talking about is that we have to bring back that balance and ensure that the institutions that make sure that we have that balance are actually in place.
Short point, what has actually happened is a dramatic increase in transparency. And we have to get used to the new paradigm. There is a new paradigm. The RTI has completely changed the paradigm. And we have to get used to the new paradigm. And the only way to get used to the new paradigm is to start building structures and move away from this arbitrary idea that the chief minister can do everything he wants, the environment minister can do anything he wants. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it is really an interesting perspective, which should suggest that we can move ahead with a new rules-bound, transparent system. If I might now ask Rajan Bharti Mittal to ask a question.
Thank you, Nana. Mr. Gandhi, welcome to FICCI.
Thank you.
Thank you for sparing time. I heard your speech with rapt attention. I can clearly say your heart is in the right position and place. I hope the government is listening as well to what you're saying. I can see a few of our colleagues here. Information technology has played a great role in Brand India. In fact, it is really the engine of growth, employment, and of course, it's become a brand synonymous with India as we go out. But lately, we are seeing that advanced countries like US, Europe are actually becoming now a hindering block for our growth to happen. I would want your views as to how you personally look at it, and corollary to that is really the telecom, because if IT has to grow, telecom of the country has to grow. And I can tell you, coming from telecom, it has been an ICU for a long time. And I think it can move out fairly quickly if there's a level playing field, if the regulators are on it, rather than some decisions being made, which again will be arbitrary and we will go back to the ICU. It has been a great success story, so I seek your views and indulgence probably on this.
You know, the big change that has come over the last 20, 30 years is that national borders cannot stop value. Value just sneaks through national borders. So if you're looking at it in the medium to long term, the United States or England or these other countries can do whatever they want. But if India actually has value, the real answer to this is to completely strengthen our IT industry, to strengthen companies like Infosys, to actually start building, frankly, the real powerhouses like Google and these other companies in this country. So it's very difficult today to stop movement of ideas. It's very difficult to stop value. So I don't see it as a long-term problem as long as we focus down and unleash your energy to build some of these systems in India. Move up the value chain. In the short term, of course, one has to deal with Americans and try and improve the situation. So,
okay, if I might now ask Harshpati Singhania to ask a question.
Rahul ji, it was encouraging to hear your comments on business and the larger environment. In your remarks, you talked about the importance of human capital. And I'd like to ask you that while education is certainly a key necessity, how do we distinguish between education and employability, skills development? So we are educating people, but we have a whole lot of people who are educated or sort of what we say graduates but not fully employed. So could you amplify on this thing, because you talked a lot about creating jobs, and particularly in manufacturing and other areas where we find on the one hand we have this oxymoron, we have people, on the other hand we can't find the right people. Thank you.
well, I said in my speech, I sort of implied in my speech, that we view education and industry in two separate silos. If you look at a modern university or you look at a modern education system, it's essentially a network. It's a network that connects industry, connects government, connects NGOs, connects students, connects finance within the university. If you look at most of our universities, and some of our universities are very, very good, and our IITs and other institutions are exceptional, but they don't have the level of networking that modern knowledge systems require. So the first thing is, start bringing in industry, start bringing in government, start bringing in these ideas into these knowledge spaces. Today, what role does industry have in the education system? What role does industry have in our higher education system? There's a disconnect. Would you agree with that?
Not entirely, but yes.
But there's a disconnect. So I would say bring those things together. That's at the university level. The single biggest problem as far as education is concerned is access. Just increase the access to education. We can do that with technology. Modern technology is a huge, huge, very powerful tool to do that. I think what we need to do, frankly, is in the 80s, we took the telecom center, the telecom structure, and we blew it up. We just created massive access. We need to think in those terms. Today, we have a very, very concentrated higher education system. We have tremendous value in the IITs and the IIMs. But frankly, this value is not being utilized. It's locked in these institutions. So we need to unlock that. In terms of primary education, we've done a lot. Enrollment has gone up. But there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of teachers, in terms of the quality of the teachers, the quality of the connect between teachers and students. But broadly speaking, we have to completely reinvent the way we think about education. We're not going to be able to do this by using the same old tools, the same old systems. And a lot of it has to do with opening up access, with bringing in people into these systems, bringing in ideas from business into the system, asking you what should happen in our education system. Those are the type of things.
In fact, we do have many of our members who are supporting through CSR activities, education institutions, and some that are looking to reinvent it as well. And this is a direction which, as you rightly point out, industry would absolutely like to see an opening up in. We are absolutely out of time now, so I'm going to ask Sid Birla to do a vote of thanks. And thank you so much for being so patient.
Honorable Shri Rahul Gandhi ji, my colleagues on the dais, senior members of the government, Your Excellencies, leaders from business and society, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to propose a vote of thanks to Honorable Shri Rahul Gandhi ji for gracing our AGM. Sir, we greatly appreciate your being with us for the first time and candidly sharing your thoughts and visions. In fact, you've covered much of what I was otherwise going to say. Sir, we look to your drive for the bold and positive economic policies and bolder actions that we need to address domestic and global challenges. You have laid out a fantastic menu. Growth is not an end in itself, but the means to meet the nation's aspirations for social cohesion and food, energy, and water security. So like you have outlined, FICCI advocates job creation and work ethic as the central keys to growth. If I can say, it is rewarding to see the self-worth of persons with productive jobs and what such sentiments can bring to society. We look to your passion in driving and setting high standards of work ethic, which can only enhance our attractiveness as an investment destination. India's entrepreneurs must flourish, supported by stable macroeconomics, well-organized labor and product markets, and enhancement in soft factors like civic sense and values. Policies to support weaker sections of society must result in production of goods or creation of assets. So I'm very, very gratified that you have shared the same vision. Before closing, sir, I glance at the past in order to look at the future, and I recall with pride the amazing vision of FICCI's forefathers. On the eve of India's independence, a group of stalwarts, including my great-grandfather, visualized an economic blueprint, later called the Bombay Plan, to capture aspirations for development of a free India. The plan spoke for the nation and not just business. FICCI's origin and values were also inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, as you have recognized. These attributes of wider national interest endure in FICCI. We engage across the spectrum of business and political entities and engage with society on what we believe to be worthy. We trust you will take our views now and in the future in the same spirit. May I now request this vote of thanks be carried with acclamation.
Thank you very much, sir, for that fabulous interaction and superb views.